we're going to now talk about, again, one IQ. We already mentioned the indicator a few times today. And why do we talk about one IQ again? Well, because now the MotiveWave version is finally ready. And we always said, okay, once we have one IQ ready for TradingView, for NinjaTrader, which we just finished last week or a bit earlier even, and for MotiveWave, you're going to have our masterclass. And of course, our masterclass is scheduled for tomorrow at 3 p.m. All right, now real quick, what is one IQ? It is one of our market IQ indicators in line with liquidity IQ, volume IQ, MA rush, and then here we have one IQ. So it really fits in there. And what it specializes in is to find you stocks which are absolutely noteworthy talking about right now. It finds you key headline and breaking news. And when we say breaking news, we mean symbols. It doesn't have to be stocks, it can be futures too for day trading. We mean symbols where everything lines up. And if everything lines up, the 1IQ indicator will give you what we call a power setup. There are different setups that the indicator will find for you. And the idea is that it will only notify you if there's really breaking news coming in. And in other words, it will filter out some of the noise that you get every day and only focuses on the most significant setups. This is what the indicator specializes in. And best of all, you can scan for these setups, as we just done to find our trade of the day. And you can also set alerts to be notified when a setup comes up. You can do this on TradingView, on NinjaTrader, and now also on MotiveWave. And here's just a summary of the different setups that the indicator will find for you. For example, the long power bounce, which we just used this particular setup to find our trade of the day. Now, this indicator now is finally ready for MotiveWave. And Nicholas, could you please give us a demo of how this indicator works for MotiveWave?
Yes, sir. Let's go. So 1IQ, let me reset the settings here. When you apply to the chart, it's going to look like just every other platform. Once it loads up, I haven't been on MNQ here, so we need to first load the higher time frame market data, I suppose, and I have a lot going on. And here you go. So you're going to get your market headline from 1IQ immediately. Your market headline up here, telling you the trend from MA rush, the pressure, is there a zone of control, what is volume doing, the buyers and sellers, are there any levels, is it bullish or bearish? And you can see these are colored. So the bearish color theme, which I can switch right in here, let's say we put it to TI bright, we'll see those colors change according to the theme. So we can see, okay, we're bearish, price just moved a bit, so now there's no level above, no level above, no level below, but you have all the information, MA rush, the pressure, the levels defense, and what the setup is. So it's just like NinjaTrader and TradingView, but MotiveWave is a special platform and it's got some nice benefits. So I'm going to show some tips here, how you can use 1IQ to the best of MotiveWave's capability, basically. So you've got all your settings for the indicator, all of the different setups, customizing your time frame, how things are calculated, and customizing, of course, things like the market box, which is this panel in the top right. Now, with MotiveWave, though, some really nice, handy things can be done. So 1IQ, of course, is based on 3 indicators, right? MA rush, liquidity IQ, and volume IQ. So what you can do is actually go to your trading indicators drop-down menu here and apply all of those indicators. So liquidity IQ, MA rush, and volume IQ. And once you've done so, you then just right-click on your chart. And this is what I like to do. You go to templates and you save that as a template. You can see I've already saved one called 1IQ, and it's tagged to Alt+1. So if I hit Alt+1 on my chart, it loads up all the indicators that 1IQ is based on and 1IQ. So I can see all of this context at once. It works just as you might expect. And I think we're probably going to end up, especially as MotiveWave 7 becomes a little bit more finalized, we're going to add even more stuff into the mix, but it's compatible with the strategy builder. So I'm going to pull over the cursor data window here, and let me just fly back on the chart. I can actually go to a chart where I know we have a 1IQ set up instead, which I'll do right now. So I'll go over to my scanner, which we're going to talk about in a second. And we can see here is a stock. It's JP Morgan on the 4-hour chart. And JP Morgan on the 4-hour chart actually right now has a long power breakout setup. Why is that? MA rush is bullish, trend bullish. We are inside, but above the zone of control. That's why it's colored the bullish color here. And we also have a level. Now I'm giving 1IQ a lot of tolerance. I've put the proximity threshold to 6 times the ATR just to make sure we can find some setups for the presentation that are accurate and existing right now. So we can see that we're bullish. We are above, but inside the zone of control right here. And below us, we got a second line of defense, which is a level, which is 298.46, which is all the way down here. So because we're bullish and because we just broke above the zone of control, which is a bullish shift in momentum, 1IQ is saying, hey, this is a long power breakout where the primary trigger is the crossing of a zone of control. And that's actually a controllable setting we're going to talk about tomorrow. The primary trigger can either be zones of control or liquidity levels or any of them, either of them. In this case, it's either. So we cross above a zone of control. We have a second line of defense, and the setup's a long power breakout. Now on MotiveWave, what's nice is we have, by coming here to my cursor data window, we see we have all this content from the 3 indicators. But if I hover my cursor over these little light blue dots, cyan dots, if you can see them here, up in the cursor data window, right around here, you'll see it. It says 1IQ, long power break, 1IQ, any setup. So there's a plot for each of the individual setups, like a long or short power break or bounce. And there's also one that's just, hey, did any setup happen? Which we're going to see is convenient for scanning and for watch lists, which I've got up here. It's actually how I found this setup on JP Morgan. So right here, long power break. Back here, it was also a long power break. The zone of control must have been a slightly bit lower at that point in time. But we're able to find these setups. So of course, it's not that useful to just be looking at a chart and staring at it and waiting until you find a setup. Instead, you want to make use of, excuse me, MotiveWave's features. So one of those features is creating what are called custom columns. What you can do is you can come up here into configure inside of MotiveWave and go to custom columns. I've created a couple here. 1IQ setup, 30-minute chart, 1IQ setup, 40-minute, 4-hour chart. And we'll see how I did that. Well, I named it 4-hour. I selected 1IQ as my study of choice. I then said, well, what value do I want to see in my watch list? Well, I don't want to have 4 columns. Now, in MotiveWave, there's something you need to be aware of, which is MotiveWave isn't the fastest at loading higher time frame data. So if you create a custom column for each of the different setups, like let's say long power bounce, short power bounce, power break in either direction. On the 30-minute, you're going to have to create 4 columns to see all of those, which means the indicator has to calculate 4 times. And remember, 1IQ includes 3 advanced indicators in one. So that's going to take a while to calculate no matter the speed of your computer. And it's going to take up a lot of RAM, random access memory. It's going to take up a lot of storage with all the data it needs to load. So that's why we created any setup, just like we have on TradingView. If I click this, say, okay, bar size 4 hours. I then created a format rule where I say, hey, if there's a value in any setup, if it's greater than 0, just make it a green background with black text that says there's a setup. So we click OK, OK, and I did the same thing for the 30-minute chart. Now I've got 2 custom columns. When I create a watch list, I have this watch list here, about 150 stocks, I think, from the S&P 500, and I've got it running on the 30-minute and 4-hour. And this minimizes the calculation inefficiency and shows me when do I have a setup on the 4-hour or the 30-minute. So I found, hey, on the JP Morgan stock on the 4-hour, there is such a setup. There is a support down here. We are crossing above a zone of control. There's bullish momentum. There's potential for a move upwards. Another one I found in this scan today was on, I think this is something energy, CEG, short power breakout. So you can see here. And another thing about MotiveWave is, and I'm not sure if it's the same case on TradingView. I think it actually is, but definitely on NinjaTrader, because these 2 platforms are a little bit more capable of like long-term calculations, and this is great for the strategy builder and for scanning, is we're able to see historical setups. So right here, we got a short power breakout. See this little pink dot? I double click on that. You can see in the plots, we can set what we want those plots to look like for when a setup happened historically. So short power break has got this magenta, whatever that is, pink fuchsia color that shows up right here, that little dot saying, hey, there's a short power break on that bar. And if we scroll back, it's likely we're going to see where there was another setup at some point in time. Look, right there, right there. See that blue dot? Let's bring the cursor data window over there and see what that was. That was a long power break at the time. Probably the zone of control from Volume IQ was around this level. We crossed above it, and this level acted as support. look at how that's actually a really convenient one. That was a long power break signal and price broke upwards. So you can see historically how these setups tend to play out. And we can keep scrolling. Even if I made the circles bigger, this might be more obvious. Here's a short setup that didn't work out perfectly right here, which was probably a short power bounce. And remember, I'm giving it a lot of tolerance here. The default is 3, so half this distance. But I was giving it tolerance so that we can find some setups. But this one didn't work out. We were bearish. We came up to close to a resistance. There's probably a tier 2 around here, and it got invalidated. If we put it to the default settings and update, that setup would have removed. So, don't get deterred by that. But I think it's really good in MotiveWave and NinjaTrader how you can see these things historically. So this is with the watch list. In the strategy builder, you can also reference these setups and then reference the levels from the different indicators to maybe make and plan your trade. Scanning, though, is another great example. So here, for example, on NXPI, if I click on this, on the 15-minute chart, go to my templates. Actually, I could just hit Alt-1. Boom, all the indicators are on. 1IQ is on. It tells me, hey, 4 bars ago, there was a setup from 1IQ. What was it? It was a long power bounce. Of course, all the markets crashed, so that one didn't play out so well. But you can see how this scan runs easily. I've got it on the 1-hour chart. I've also got it on the 15-minute chart. And it's similar to how you create your custom watch list columns. Here, this is one that must have been a long power bounce.